Professor William Lawrence. He has extensive experience in Middle East and North African politics. Thanks for being with us. So not only is Greece arming these islands along Turkey's shore, but the United States, as we know, has just lifted the arms embargo on Greek-administered Cyprus. Why? What are they really hoping to achieve with that?
I think they bought into this line that Turkey will only respond to strong measures or threats. And so they're pursuing that line. There's in Congress something called the Hellenic Conference, which sort of backs Greece whenever they need backing on something. And the U.S., of course, has been involved in the maneuvers in the area that are very much poised against the Turkish Navy. So this is the line that Washington has taken. I don't agree with that line. I really believe that the German position right now of mediation being the best outcome not only is the best position, but needs more U.S. support. The U.S. position, of course, isn't, not everyone's in agreement with it. These claims are legitimate in many ways on both sides. They're countering claims in terms of international law and other factors. But whether or not there's any sort of military escalation and military conflict, the solution will always be negotiated in the end, and that's why the Germans are right.
Okay. Meanwhile, I mean, both parties, Greece and Turkey, are saying that they are acting under international law, that they are only abiding by their rights as determined by international treaties and international jurisdiction. I mean, they can't both be right if they're fighting like this. So where does the international jurisdiction lie?
Well, they kind of can both be right because international law has always been weak in developing, and it depends a lot on the assent of the countries. For example, not all countries are members of the International Court. Some go to it for decisions, and a lot of these decisions end up being more like arbitrations than decisions based on law. Of course, Greece and the EU are signatories of the law of the sea. United States and Turkey are not, although Turkey abides from it in most of its actions. And there's a difference of opinions over the rights of islands, the EEZs, the economic zones, and these continental shelves. And of course, Greece has been threatening to extend them in various areas, which would cut Turkey further off. But they're all, in the end, matters of negotiation because the claims are based on not interfering with someone else's rights. And then all these agreements that are being signed, for example, the Libya-Turkish deal and the Greece-Egypt deal, are non-binding on third parties, which basically says it has to be negotiated. So you can do lots of legal things that sort of put stakes in the ground, but the other one can put stakes in the ground too, and eventually it has to go to some sort of mediation, arbitration, or certain things can be decided at The Hague, but again, based on interpretations.
Okay. But I mean, if we look at the island of Meis, I want to get your opinion on this. Can a 10-square-kilometer island with less than 500 people have the rights to such a disproportionate amount of continental shelf when it's, less than 2 kilometers away from the Turkish mainland?
Well, first of all, if Greece and the EU says so and Turkey agrees, then the answer is yes. This all goes back to these various agreements you've been citing in the 1920s and the 1940s, and of course the Continental Shelf Agreement that you mentioned, and they all are at play here. The basic problem is that Turkey got a raw deal, and these tiny islands off its coast were ceded way back at the end of these conflicts when the Ottoman Empire was weak and then Turkey was nascent, and so Turkey had to make those concessions. Now, there have been a number of negotiations avoiding war in this Aegean conflict since then, and notably in the 1980s and the 1990s, wars were averted because negotiations were had about very much the status of these islands. So there is a precedent to avoid war by negotiating, and ultimately, in the end, I don't think it's going to be a one-size-fits-all solution. So, for example, a tiny island with a few people won't have the same negotiated rights as a large island with a lot of people. It's going to have to be negotiated, and not on a case-by-case basis, and not on the basis of all of the islands or none of the islands.
William Lawrence, great to have you. Thanks so much for taking the time. We appreciate your analysis.